The date is May 31st, 2025, and this document is produced by Teeth of the Lamb. What you're about to see is a timeline built entirely from Scripture. A prophetic framework that lays out the events of the past 2,000 years through God's eyes. From the ministry of John the Baptist to the resurrection of the saints, each event fits into a precise, God-ordained schedule. This video introduces our master chart, explains how it was constructed, and shows why we believe the second little season may begin around the year 2026. Title: In the Crosshairs of Prophecy, the year approximately 2026. We may be standing at the edge of the most profound moment since creation. All indicators are converging on the year approximately 2026 or 2027 as the start of Satan's second little season. A short period that marks not only his release, Revelation 20.7, but also the first resurrection of the saints, Revelation 20.6, 5 through 6. This timeline was not guessed. It emerged from a top-down prophetic analysis that began by identifying Satan's presence in Zechariah 3:1, standing in the temple to resist. From there, we worked backward and forward using the plain structure of Revelation 20, matching prophetic time spans with scriptural clues. At the center of this convergence is an explosion of knowledge, a phenomenon foretold in Daniel 12:4. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Humanity is now accessing technologies, especially AI, that were unimaginable a generation ago. This isn't merely progress. It may be the final test, echoing the tree of knowledge of good and evil from the Garden of Eden, Genesis 2:9. The parallels are striking. In Eden, knowledge led to deception. In this generation, knowledge has become nearly divine in appearance, and just as dangerous. We are reminded that Satan operates not just through temptation, but also through intellect, information, and influence. As Paul warned, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6:12. These high places today include not just governments, but the digital heavens, networks, systems, and algorithms that shape thought and behavior globally. It is possible, if not likely, that fallen angels, still operating under Satan's command, are using these systems to steer humanity toward a final deception. That convergence, knowledge, resurrection, and Satan's release may define the tipping point we're now approaching. So we issue this warning. If 2026 or 2027 marks the beginning of Satan's release and the resurrection of the saints, then those alive at that time may be transformed or caught up. 1 Corinthians 15:52 and 1 Thessalonians 4:17. Only those written in the Lamb's Book of Life will take part in this resurrection. Don't miss it. Don't be left behind. When the clock runs out, is 2026 the appointed time? A biblical timeline of the two 1,000-year days, the coming resurrection, and the little season. To understand why the years 2026 or 2027 carry such prophetic weight, we turn to the heart of our project, the comprehensive prophetic timeline. This visual framework outlines what we believe to be 2,000-year days of the Lord, based directly on scriptural patterns. 2 Peter 3:8 tells us that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. And Psalm 94 echoes this by saying, 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past. The timeline begins around 26 or 27 AD with the ministry of John the Baptist, whom Jesus identified as the prophesied Elijah. In Matthew 11:14, Jesus says, "This is Elias, which was for to come." And again in Matthew 17:12, "But I say unto you that Elias is come already." Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. This directly fulfills the prophecy of Malachi 4:5-6, where God declared, "I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." For this reason, we begin our timeline count with the ministry of John the Baptist. The end of the 2,000 years culminates in what may be the most anticipated events in human history: the resurrection of the saints, the return of Christ, and Satan's judgment. The timeline charts you are about to see aren't just illustrations, they are the product of a painstaking scripture-based investigation, layering Revelation, Zechariah, Daniel, and many others into a single synchronized chronology. You'll notice we use both historical and prophetic markers, highlighted visually to show the transition between the first day of the Lord, wrath, and the second day, mercy, ending with the little season of Satan's final rebellion. Before we dive into the visual charts, let's briefly trace the story they tell. This will help you follow the timeline's flow, from its foundation to the crescendo at the second little season. The 2,000-year days and their climax. What if the entire span of prophetic history could be summarized in just 2 massive 1,000-year days? That's exactly what our timeline reveals. And both of these days end the same way, with Satan's release and a cascade of end-time events. This simple but profound timeline presents 2 prophetic days, each 1,000 years long. Both days begin with a pivotal moment and end with Satan being loosed, unleashing a wave of prophetic and catastrophic events. Everything aligns around these short, explosive seasons. This timeline simplifies thousands of years of prophetic history into 2 clear 1,000-year days of the Lord. It begins around 26 to 27 AD, the time of John the Baptist, identified by Jesus as Elijah, fulfilling the prophecy of Malachi 4:5-6. God will send Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. From this point, we count forward 2,000 years. What we discover is remarkable. Both of these 1,000-year periods conclude with a little season in which Satan is unleashed, ushering in intense, world-changing events. This is more than a timeline. It's a prophetic skeleton key, unlocking the entire structure of redemptive history, laid out in 2 great 1,000-year days, each ending with Satan's rebellion. First day of the Lord, 26 to 1026 AD, the day of wrath. This first prophetic day begins when Elijah, John the Baptist, appears, heralding the arrival of the kingdom. Christ confirms this and pronounces judgment upon his generation for all the righteous blood of the prophets and saints shed upon the earth. Matthew 23:34-35. That judgment is only partially fulfilled in that time. The final reckoning comes near the end of this 1,000-year day. In Matthew 23:34-35, Jesus condemns his generation for all the righteous blood shed upon the earth. But the full judgment doesn't arrive until nearly 1,000 years later, at the climax of the first day of the Lord. When Satan is cast down at the close of the first day, around 1019 to 1026 AD, the world descends into total devastation. The destruction isn't limited to Israel or Rome, it's worldwide. The first 1,000-year day is marked by divine wrath, judgment, and the eventual fall of Babylon. It ends in a cataclysmic event, the first little season, a brief, devastating span of time when the earth was shaken to its core. We still see the wreckage today. Satan, along with 1/3 of heaven's angels, was cast down to the earth. The rise of the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel. The mark of the beast and worship of his image. A great burning star cast onto the land, striking the rivers and fountains. The sun, moon, and stars are struck and darken. Cities collapsed, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Rivers turned bitter, the skies darkened, and fire scorched the seas. 1/3 of mankind perished from the fire, smoke, and brimstone. Babylon came in remembrance before God, and in her was found the blood of prophets, and of saints, and of all that were slain upon the earth, fulfilling Jesus' condemnation 1,000 years earlier, Revelation 18:24 and Matthew 23:35. Babylon, the great corrupter, was judged and destroyed. A great millstone is cast into the sea. With violence Babylon is destroyed and found no more at all. For true and righteous are his judgments, for he hath judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and hath avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. Revelation 19:2. Armageddon. Darkness falls on the beast's kingdom. Islands moved. Mountains levelled. The beast and false prophet cast alive into the lake fire. Satan bound for 1,000 years. The aftermath, creating megalithic ruins on every continent. Cities are buried. Engineering marvels whose builders are unknown. This isn't legend, it's a signature of the first little season, a period when Satan and his angels were cast to the earth. The nations fell in one cataclysmic judgment. The evidence is all around us. This was no local event. It was a worldwide collapse. Its effects are still seen today. The shattered ruins of once great civilizations on every continent are silent witnesses to that season of wrath. From megalithic temples and fallen towers to abandoned cities swallowed by earth and jungle, we still marvel at these remnants. They stand as enduring proof that a judgment of massive scale did happen, just as foretold. At the climax of this period, Satan was bound and a new age begins. The times of the Gentiles, Church Age of Grace. Second Day of the Lord, 1026 to 2026 AD. The Day of Mercy. The second prophetic day is one of mercy and restoration. Satan is bound, and the gospel goes to the nations. But as we approach the close of this second 1,000-year day, the signs are all around us. We are once again entering a little season. For the past 1,000 years, mercy has prevailed. The gospel spread. The enemy remained bound. But now, all signs suggest we are at the end of this second day. And just like before, the crosshairs of prophecy are lining up. And what happens at the end? Satan is loosed again. But this time, something different surrounds us. Technology mirrors the ancient tree of knowledge, promising wisdom but hiding danger. Artificial intelligence and global technology offer unimaginable knowledge, rising with breathtaking speed, and aligning with Satan's release. Worldwide deception, prophetic fulfillment accelerating, unseen spiritual powers possibly at work in high places, pulling strings. The year 2026 or 2027 AD appears to be the appointed time when Satan is released again, ushering in a final prophetic storm, the resurrection of the saints. Satan opposing the temple's reconstruction while standing against Joshua, the Battle of Gog and Magog. This battle differs from Armageddon when the armies gathered against Jesus and his army. However, they gather here against the apple of God's eye, the holy city Jerusalem and the saints, the return of Christ whose feet stand on the Mount of Olives. The army is consumed by fire from heaven. Revelation 20:10 and Zechariah 14:12. The gathering of the Jews and the measurement of the millennial temple. The rise of the two witnesses who prophesy for 3.5 years before being killed by the beast from the bottomless pit, sealing his fate to be consumed by fire. Satan is cast into the lake of fire, where the beast and false prophet are. The millennial reign begins, but our research shows that Satan's little season overlaps with its early phase. This creates a transitional window where resurrection, opposition, and temple construction all intersect. The most obvious and undeniable sign that we've entered the second little season will be the resurrection of the saints. Unlike the resurrection, Satan's release may not be immediately visible. It could be subtle, deceptive, and may even precede the resurrection by a short time, as suggested in Revelation 20 verse 5. The pattern repeats. Both prophetic days follow the same divine structure. The day begins with proclamation and warning. It ends with Satan's short season, a whirlwind of prophetic events. Then the enemy is judged, and a new reign begins. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. Daniel 7:26. And the kingdom and dominion, and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven, shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Daniel 7:27. And a new age begins again, this time the millennial reign of Christ and his saints on earth. When you view the chart, the pattern becomes visually obvious. Massive spikes in prophetic activity occur during the little seasons. These short bursts are where almost every major prophetic end-time event takes place. The rest of each 1,000-year day serves as a long build-up or aftermath. This is the beauty of the timeline. It is simple enough for a child to follow, yet powerful enough to challenge long-standing traditions. It shows us that history, prophecy, and scripture converge at two focal points, both marked by Satan's activity and God's final triumph. This pattern is crystal clear in the timeline, and for the first time, we have a compelling date that aligns it all. If we're right, then we're standing on the threshold of the greatest transition in human history. Be ready, watch, stay clean. The first resurrection is not something you want to miss.
If you found this presentation thought-provoking, be sure to explore our full library of scripture-based research on Satan's little season. You'll find over 90 standalone documents, each available in both text and narrated audio, all freely accessible through our interactive index linked in the description below. If you'd like to support this effort, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Every share helps more people uncover the truth. Thanks for watching, and may the Lord bless you with understanding in the days ahead.